on this.
All right, there we
So,
go.
all right. So please tell me about yourself and how you came across market.
Just to clarify, the last part of your question was how I came across marketing ops specifically?
Yes, marketing ops and Marketo. It's your experience I'm most interested in.
Okay, sure. Hi, I'm Jacqueline. I have quite a vast and unique skill set and experiences working from seed stage startups all the way to pre-IPO, almost IPO with both Grammarly and WeWork. Um, and since then, I have started my own consulting firm specifically for go-to-market, full stack marketing operations and marketing technology to help companies, particularly SaaS companies in hyper growth. In terms of how I fell into marketing ops, it was truly by accident. I was doing marketing and we needed to make systems work and we needed to make integrations happen. And so little did I know I was actually doing operations. And so it just kind of grew from there. And that was my favorite part. And I'm a documentation nerd, love all of the things involved with empowering others to be able to do marketing better and quicker and more efficiently and more successfully. And so that's kind of how I fell into it.
That's actually an amazing journey. So, what are some unique areas that you like about Marketo with that it does better than the other platforms?
Frankly, can I say I don't actually like Marketo? Is
Yeah,
that okay?
that's
Okay.
perfectly fine, and that's the perspective I'm looking for. Because everybody says they love
Yeah.
Marketo, it's like that, but yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So I've used every tool out there, but I'm agnostic. However, I have a lot of opinions and thoughts. Um, if we are comparing the current top three B2B marketing map tools, HubSpot, Marketo, and Pardot, all three do not fit the bill. None of which are up to the standard of 2024. They were great 10, 12, 15 years ago. Um, of the three, Pardot is the most customizable, but you have to be able to know how to navigate it, which is hard. Um, Marketo is definitely one of the leading contenders in that it's less difficult than Pardot for most to navigate, but it also limits you in a lot of ways. Not to mention if you're a Salesforce CRM house, you're immediately just flipped at the knees of what you can actually accomplish with campaigns. And then thirdly, HubSpot is excellent, but only if you're up to a certain audience size and level of complexity of business. And so all three have a place, but there's also a couple of up and coming contenders that are definitely likely going to surpass them in the next couple of years, which I'm really looking forward to seeing happen.
This last prediction that I'd like more of your thoughts on this, like how you think it's going to
Sure.
surpass that.
Yeah. Um, the few tools I have seen that are on the market or coming to the market are more tech forward, meaning they are willing to have APIs that don't have limits in the same capacity as existing systems. And just the code is built on maybe not so much 2000 code, but maybe 2020 code instead. Um, and just are more flexible, more capable. You're able to just do so much more outside of the platform and bring it inside instead of kind of hack your way. Um, and every company is having to think outside of the box now as the questionable cookieless, who knows what future, everything is kind of different nowadays. And so that just means you have to be able to innovate as well. And so that's not just your marketers and your strategy, but also the tools and systems in relation to it. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm excited to see how product led growth and product signals and other different aspects become more of the norm as opposed to the outliers and kind of the folks who are really trying to think outside of the box. It's going to become regular news inside of the box, but we have to get there first.
So I'm actually glad that you said you hated Marketo because the insights that you're giving, yeah, I mean, it's basically based on the mob's landscape. So
Yeah.
amazing, by
I
the
was
way.
a little worried because, like, when I looked back on what we were going to discuss, I was like, "Uh-oh, I don't know if, like, you're gonna like my takes."
No, no, it's basically it's about the truth. Like it's about every person has so many gold nuggets. And in fact,
Yep.
I'm going to change the session from Marketo to actually mobs because you have such an
That's
amazing
I
experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes more it's more applicable to what my 'cause I've used everything and seen it all, and that's a little bit more aligned with kind of my philosophy too.
That's perfect. So, what are your views in overall MarTech landscape? How do you think it's evolving and where is it headed currently?
What was the first part of the question? Sorry, it broke up.
I meant the mobs landscape, MarTech landscape.
Mhm.
Where do you think
Yes.
it's heading right now and how it will evolve?
Okay. I mean, anyone and everyone is heading towards AI and everything as it relates to that. So TBD on what sticks and what's landing. Um, I think it is the right direction, but we're still in the early budding stages of capabilities and complexity as well. So I'm particularly looking forward to the simple changes that it can benefit us with, taking some of the more manual work of, oh, we're setting up a journey or an automation. And instead of painstakingly typing in every tile step or every kind of in between moment, you're able to kind of just type what you need and it gives you at least a templatized approach. Then you can tweak from there. So, really cutting down on efficiency, I'm looking forward to. But well beyond that, it's just more integrations with your greater tech ecosystem. It pains me to say so many companies are so siloed, and that's not just marketing versus engineering, it's every team. And so really trying to find not just the individuals, but the tools and systems that will be able to create a more integrated, holistic company. Because if you are able to see the big picture, you'll be able to do more and transform more faster, quicker, better.
That's 100% on the spot. You have to transform yourself better, otherwise you will be left behind. So I was like, in some of experiences, first of all, I'm a big fan. You are running an agency. That's amazing, by the way. It was Jacqueline Friedman Consulting Agency. I cannot remember the name, but it was all amazing. You have been in so
Monarch.
many, yeah, Monarch. So you have been in so many leadership roles. What is your takeaway regarding mobs leadership? Like, what are the things
Mm,
that a mob leader should look for and they should enforce within their teams as well?
yeah. I have two main characteristics that I think everyone should have, but particularly in MOPS. And so there's curiosity and active listening. And so, first of all, if you're not curious and always wanting to learn more or explore, you're behind. You always want to be innovating your own self and self growth. And so that's not just from like personal life, but also professional life. And then in that same capacity, in my opinion, MOPS, as well as any other ops team, are consultants first, even in-house. And so you active listening is so important where you have to be identifying what your quote unquote customers or stakeholders and partners are dealing with and really synthesizing what the problem is. Because a lot of times the surface of this isn't working is what is the immediate problem, but deeper down, it's like, oh, we have to dig in to see what within the framework isn't working that may be potentially causing us a side effect. And so, really being able to listen to what the problems are, synthesize it into succinct, actionable plans, and really like narrow down what you can do to accomplish and fix something. Those are the two main characteristics I look for when I'm building out a team, but also in anyone on any team. It's not MOP specific, but I just found those two characteristics in particular to be particularly uniquely important. Although these are
Thank
all off the cuff, I hope they're okay.
no, no, that's like your insights match. I interviewed another amazing lady, Patricia Pouncey. She has
Oh,
basically built.
nice.
You know Patricia,
I know the name. I don't know her
right?
specifically.
So she has basically built so many million-dollar pipelines, and your basically insights match her in many ways. So
Oh,
this is all
interesting.
so this is all gold nugget information. I absolutely love it. So Jacqueline, I wanted to ask specifically as a MOPS leader, you have to make the right investment, right? In the right MarTech tool. And if you don't do that, your head, like obviously the head is on the chopping block because you have to answer for so many finances. So how do you make the right decision, and what key factors you should look for choosing the right MarTech tool?
Yeah, I would take a first step back and audit what you have and see if there's any redundancies or opportunities to minimize, reduce. Um, I'm not going to remember the exact quote off the top of my head, but I think even was it yesterday? It was either Scott Brinker or it was the Martech Weekly. I can't remember which one it was, but specifically stated like nearly 90% of all implementations like go awry, and that's not because the tool is the problem. It's the implementation approach. And so um, there's always opportunity potentially for redundancy and minimization. So you might have more budget than you originally think. And that's always a good thing to present to your CFO. But outside of that, if we're baseline, like we're on a very lean stack that is satisfying every need, and we identify one gap in opportunity that can be fulfilled with a net new tool, I'm a huge proponent of RFPs and extensive competitive analysis. And for example, at Grammarly before I made a decision to move email marketing tools for our B2C side of the house, I ran a 150 point data point validation across two different, originally three, but narrowed down to two ESPs, and did 30 additional client side interviews per ESP to validate on top of that. And then I also, this was specific and unique to the company at the time, but based off of the value set of the company, I compared the values and how whether or not that tool lived up to our own company values, because I see vendors, tools, and systems as an extension of your greater team. And so if they're going to be helping you in your success, you want someone who fits within your company culture. And so every company culture is different. That's why not every tool is a fit for every company.
Basically a framework, I mean, the way what I can see is it's basically a framework that you develop after the best practices. It's amazing
Yes.
information, by the way. Thank you so much for your time, for your value that you're bringing in this session. So,
Yeah, of
Jacqueline,
course.
so what are some of the red flags, or I should say, danger zones where the mob leader should stay away from those? And it's very easy to make those mistakes, but
Mm.
you should be careful.
And you're speaking to MOPS leadership specifically or leadership in general?
Specifically, mob leadership.
Yeah. Um, hmm, it's tricky. I would say, and this is true of any leader, always listen to your team, be open-minded, um, recognize the challenges they're facing and help support them in it. Um, Unlock barriers on behalf of your teams. Um, that was a trickier one because I don't see any leadership perspective different than any other team. Um, I think empathy is the number one most important aspect, and oftentimes leadership lacks it. Perhaps.
I mean, I resonated with that because obviously I'm a marketer and I've seen that is the like uh, if you're CMO and in a growing company, your head is automatically on the chopping block. You have to respond to
Yeah,
CFOs. You have to respond to CEOs. You have to convince the entire board members, and if something goes wrong, it's you. It's your
exactly.
fault. So
Hmm.
regarding that, would you have any advice for how to remove this kind of misalignment between the marketing folks and the financial folks, and how to show them the
Yeah,
real value of your Martech investment?
yeah, always. One, I'm a huge proponent of investing in relationships first. Um, Getting to know everyone on a personal level just makes life easier. I'm not saying become friends, but friendly acquaintances or work colleagues. That helps a lot. But you have to speak the correct language with the right audience. It's just like any other marketer, cater to your audience. If you're talking to your CFO, you need to be able to prove value, ROI, and how the investment is going to potentially propel growth. And if you're not speaking those words, you're never going to get through to a CFO. That's how they speak. Same thing with a marketer, CMO leadership. Most CMOs are very revenue focused because they have to be, because their role in particular is most likely to be reevaluated every 3 years. And they're usually the first leadership position to go. And so have a revenue forward focus, but also with the marketer, you are able to speak a little bit more to the value and to the brand and the way in which it integrates into the customer's life. But it's just like every other marketing segmentation. Know your audience.
So I wonder if you have any opinion on data, because
Yeah,
because cleaning the data,
I have
like
a lot
what
of
kind of,
opinions on data.
please, I love your opinions.
um, as it relates to data, that is the driver of all the things we've been discussing. You're not able to fully realize revenue growth projections. You're not able to potentially have a successful marketing campaign without data. And that is both data in and data out. So you need to be on top of your hygiene. You need to be, if you're enriching your data, you need to be on top of all of the automations. You need to ensure that you're maintaining just clean data sets. There's nothing worse if we're going to the most basic set of personalization. You have someone's name incorrectly spelled because you received that information from an enrichment tool, not from their own zero-party data. And so ensuring you're leveraging your own zero and first party data, but if you are dabbling into third party, take it with a grain of salt. Um, Third party data is most beneficial, in my personal opinion, from a general segmentation standpoint and categorization standpoint, not so much from a marketing to an individual or even to a business. So it just depends. But yes, data is extremely important. And then in terms of actual campaign data and metrics, you need to be tracking those. You need to either be an analyst yourself, or if you're afforded the resources, work with your amazing analytics team and getting just those standardized dashboards overall. So you're able to see trends month over month, year over year, campaign type over campaign type. There's a lot of discipline required to be able to formally leverage your own data. And without that discipline, your data is helpful, but it can also be meaningless.
I've heard that a few people actually find it necessary to integrate third-party tools, whereas a few people realize that the third-party tools are not exactly good. I mean, you should stick to
Yep.
the basics, should stick to the platforms that you're using. So, what would your opinion be in this matter?
I see value. From a personal perspective, privacy lawyers are my best friends. I'm not a fan of the scraping of data, but I recognize the business use case. And so I see both sides there. However, in terms of general enrichment, I do see value from a categorization perspective. If you're in the B2B space, it's almost a requirement, at least from a bare minimum of creating the company segments, whether there's SMB, mid-market, enterprise, how many employees exist, what industry they're in. A lot of these categorization items are worth automating through enrichment, but you also have to take with a grain of salt. It's not always going to be right. And ultimately, unintentional side effects of that is it creates distrust both within the data from the marketing side, from the sales side, and from just an overarching understanding of trends. You really have to be on top of it and continually looking. And every different demographic or audience that you may have. So if you have customers in APAC, certain enrichment tools are not great for those countries. If you solely work in North America, you're a little bit luckier in terms of what tools will work best, but you also have to figure out what tool best suits your needs, your audience base, and your demographics as well. There's a lot of complexity that goes into all of the above, but you always have to be mindful of taking it with a grain of salt.
I mean, thank you so much for again these insights. Like I'm speaking to a leader. I'm truly speaking to a leader, and
Thank you.
it's an honor to be interviewing you. Honestly, I'm not
It's
exaggerating at
an
all.
honor to meet you.
It's so nice to hear. So,
Hopefully my
I,
answers are not the exact same as everyone else's. I don't know.
your answers are actually very on the spot, and they give a lot of glimpse into how where the investment should be, like how the people should behave. Like
Yeah.
so it's all amazing, by the way. Like
Learn
it's
that
very
trial by fire.
yeah, it's very clear that you have built a few pipelines by your hands. You built a few companies by your hands, and you know what's going on, what matters the most. So obviously, if a company has purchased or marketing, I'm not no. In fact, a company is basically in the transition state. There's so many
Mhm.
things to go wrong because your
Yes.
CFO is going to, demand answers, and you have to basically make the right investment. What would your advice be in such a scenario when your company is in the transition and you are the one making the decision?
Yeah. I would like to take a step back and see what the company goals are. Um, so if the company goals are growth, are the company goals stay afloat? Are the company goals um, really it's completely dependent on what is from the top down, what are the decision making frameworks that we're going to be going off of. And so that's where I start. And that's not just like company wide goals and OKRs, but what is actually the priority from the top down. Um, and so I use that as the North Star of how to go about the next steps.
Right. I guess these are all the questions from my side, but if you think I've missed anything of value, you have to let me know if there's anything
I mean,
maybe
isn't
I
it
missed.
excellent questions? I feel bad that like I wasn't more prepared with like better answers.
You know, like
um, I'm trying to think. Um, I feel like you covered most of the bases. Um, yeah, I think the only other piece, maybe in hindsight, of like the something along the lines of like leadership of what characteristics are really important. I would also say folks who've been to the trenches before. There's nothing worse than working with someone who has only like seen from the mountaintop how things are done as opposed to really understanding the inner workings and mechanics. Um, and I'm not just speaking about if someone's out of the office and you need extra hands to pitch in, but actually understanding how the impact of a certain process is on the marketer who is building an email or writing the content for it. If you're not able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, I don't see a successful and a working relationship happening and process ultimately if you're not able to recognize what you're trying to optimize for. And so I've seen a lot of, not a lot, a few folks who haven't really done the work and are getting into higher stratospheres of work, but they don't understand what they're actually overseeing. And for me, that is a recipe for failure. And so I definitely think there's value in knowing the fundamentals, having done it, even if you've been a little bit removed from it. I like to be in the weeds every once in a while too. It's fun. Reminds me of the good old days when things were simpler, but also it's I always like to be fresh on what the actual day-to-day impact would be on my internal team or my customers ultimately, which ultimately are in-house partners. And so the only thing I can think of, that's just because I didn't prepare. I'm just thinking off the cuff. Um, but were there any other questions you wanted to ask and didn't get a
um,
chance to?
No, no, I mean, I think I've covered everything, and your insights are actually very valuable. I was
Oh,
thinking of finishing
wonderful.
the report, but now the team is going to kill me because I'm bringing some more gold nuggets to add.
You're
So
what?
yeah, so the team is actually going to be angry at me because I'm going to bring more gold nuggets to add because this is very valuable
Oh,
information.
sorry.
No, no, no. Actually, I'm the one. So, but yeah, Jacqueline, thank you so much. It was a very nice experience meeting
Of
you, and
course. It was so
uh,
nice to meet you.
the way you explained everything. And again, the less is more. This is something that I got to know in Martech tools as well. Franz Ramesara told
Yes.
me. Franz Ramesara, the state of the author of the state of the Martech, he told me less is more. And in your case, I feel like all the replies were so amazing, so straight to the point, and yeah, they were like delivering a lot of knowledge, first-hand insights based in these statements. So again, this is all
Thank you.
very amazing. I think I'm gonna stop the recording now because
Okay.